Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ask Huda. I'm your host Jamil Rashid. And I'd like to welcome back today Sheikh Muhammad Salah. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much for being with us on Ask Huda, Sheikh.
Wa jazakum.
Okay, before we go into those questions, let's just remind you of our telephone numbers. The country code is 202, then it's 38555 248 or 249, and our email address, which I'm happy to say is working perfectly fine now, is askask@huda.tv. And just one announcement, please, if you do call, turn down your television sets. Let's start off with a question from Sister Amara, Sheikh, from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. She had several questions actually, but the first of those is regarding her actual practice. She's a medical student. She said, I took your advice, Sheikh. I'm going towards obstetrics and gynecology. But in obs and gyne, she says we have to do abortions and so forth. Are we allowed to perform these types of operations, she asks?
Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala nabiyhi wa Mustafa Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Praise be to Allah, we praise Him and we seek His help. Whomsoever Allah guides is the truly guided one, and whomsoever Allah leaves astray, no one can show him guidance. May the best peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. First of all, thank you so much for contacting us, and we're really proud of you. May Allah bless you. You cannot imagine how much we're very happy to hear that students of medical school are changing their mind and making the decision based on the view of the Sharia. We're definitely in tremendous need for female gynecologists. Unfortunately, the vast majority of gynecologists and obstetric doctors are men. And we're having trouble finding ladies who would help our wives, our sisters, and so on. So, alhamdulillah wa shukrullah that it is working and there is a response. So may Allah bless you and make you successful in your life. And all the sisters who are in this field or any other field. Second, I think you've called from a Muslim country. So basically, there is a law that ban abortion. But abortion, while it is totally haram and prohibited, yet sometimes it is prescribed. In several questions we answered in the past, we said that if there is a life threat that before the 4 months, or the 4 months and 10 days, that if the child, if continuing the conception would be very harmful to the mother, life-threatening, and it is prescribed to abort the child, then you must do it. So if there is a case like that, you're not committing a sin, you're doing your job, and it is permissible, that's perfectly fine. So I'm sure that in such Muslim country, that all the cases of abortion which you will study in the medical school, that's approved, and it is prescribed to have abortion done in this case, so there is no problem whatsoever. But if you know that somebody is doing it because they want to get rid of the child, you should not be involved in any case like that under any circumstances. Because one who assists on al-munkar receive the same punishment like the one who's doing the munkar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. In the beginning it says, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. Then وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Help one another to achieve righteousness and piety, and do not assist nor help one another to commit sins or transgression.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, the first call of the day has arrived. Brother Maqsood from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Brother, I welcome you on Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, inshallah, I'm planning to go for Hajj this year, this time after 2 months. So I want to ask whether doing it officially is correct, or some people do it unofficially without making the papers. Okay. So I wanted to know which is the right way. Is doing unofficially right or wrong?
Yeah.
Okay. Jazakallah khair, Brother Maqsood there from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Okay, Omara had another question which was medically linked. She says, can we go into pediatrics, Sheikh? Is that allowed too?
Absolutely fine. That's perfectly needed as well. When my wife takes the children to a pediatrician, I would love to see a female pediatrician. It's better than having to go with her or stay with her all the time, because most of the time those who take care of the kids and take care of their needs are the moms. So when I see a female pediatrician, it's perfectly fine and it is definitely needed.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, the next question. Can I accept gifts from a medical rep? And just some background, if you work in medicine, you're going to get gifts from people who want you to sell their medicine. These are medical reps. Are people allowed to take these gifts from them, Sheikh?
I personally have an experience with that,
Okay.
and I have a personal opinion with this regard. I consider this as a rishwa, as a bribery. Why? Because whenever a medical company and a medical representative visits a physician, he does not, especially in the Middle East, that's totally different than in the West. If he gives you a gift other than the samples is perfectly fine. Take as many and as much as you can, because you are going to distribute these on those who are in need, those who cannot afford the medication. But unfortunately, it has become a business. The medical representative would give you the gift, which is, it sometimes could be up to a car, a vehicle, a house, a trip to the Caribbean or to the States or here and there. And in front of that, you have to write that many prescriptions. And they will check on how many prescriptions that you have written down and how much profit you generated for them. And accordingly, they will value that and will give you what they call it, a gift in Islamic perspective, that is a bribery. Because if we have, for instance, a couple of antibiotics, one which is affordable, $10, and the other is 50 or 70 or 80. And they're almost doing the same job. But this is by a leading company, and this is by a local or national company. The international company would give you a gift, and they would ask you to write 50 prescriptions, for instance, a week. So you're doing that automatically because you want to achieve this target so that you will get the gift. And if you don't do that, you will not get the gift. So that's why I personally, in my heart, I believe that is some sort of bribery that the physician should avoid. Or if you're not complying with their instructions, you only prescribe the medication which is definitely needed, whether they give you or not. And the samples which you're taking are medications as well. That is fine, no problem with that.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, next we have Sister Sumaya from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Sister, you're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please. Okay, I think we lost Sister Sumaya there. Next we have Sister Firdaus, also from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Sister, are you there with us?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, I have two questions. One of my friends, she died in a road accident last week. And at the time of her death, she was in her periods. While doing the ghusl, there was a controversy that they have to do the ghusl 2 times for her. One for her because she was in her period, and the second as for her janazah. So I'd just like to clear up whether we have to do the ghusl 2 times or is just once sufficient.
Okay.
Is that the case? She died in a road accident. It was a spot death.
Okay.
Okay.
And, she was about 30 years old.
Okay.
May Allah have mercy on her.
May Allah have mercy on her. Do you have another question, Sister? Okay, I think the sister's gone there. Sister Firdaus from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Jazakallah khair, Sister, for the questions. Okay. Let's go to the next question from Sister Amara. This is regarding food. We've had this question before, but a good clarification, inshallah, Sheikh. Having cheese made from animal rennet. The sister says, are we allowed to eat these kind of products, Sheikh?
This is a question which our earlier predecessors dealt with, and the earlier scholars as well have two different opinions. The opinion of the vast majority of the Muslim jurists, al-fuqaha, Malik or Shafi'i, and one opinion with Al-Imam Ahmad, they said that darini, which is in Arabic known as al-infaha, that is a substance or an enzyme, a yellowish one that's taken from a sac that is in the abdomen of the animal. They all agreed, first of all, that if it is taken from an animal, which is number one, lawful to be consumed, sheep, cattle, whatever, which is lawful to eat for Muslims, then it was slaughtered by a Muslim or any of the people of the scripture, slaughtered according to Islam, which is known as tazkiyah. In this case, it is perfectly fine to use this to manufacture cheese. Basically, the rennet, whenever it's put and mixed with the milk, it transforms the milk into cheese, different types of cheese. So they said it will be allowed and permissible in this condition. There is a general consensus with this regard. Then they differ with regards if the animal is either not lawful for us to consume or a dead animal, even though if the animal itself is lawful for us to consume, it has been slaughtered. If it was slaughtered by other than Muslims and the people of the scripture. So the vast majority of the scholars said it is najis. It is impure. and we cannot consume it. And if it is mixed up with the milk in order to make it cheese, then the milk too becomes impure and we cannot consume it. Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on him, and also Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah and others, said no, it is not najis in itself, and it's not impure, and accordingly it is permissible. They both relied on sources of indications from the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. What really makes the second view weighs heavier and more right is that the companions and the tabi'een and the predecessors used to eat the cheese which is manufactured by Jews, Christians and Majus, the fire worshippers, the Syrians. So they said since they used to eat it, that means, and they know that for the fire worshippers especially, that they are not Ahlul Kitab. So we're not allowed to eat their dhabiha even if they slaughter it. It's only permissible to eat the animal which has been slaughtered by a Muslim or any of the people of the scripture, Jews or Christians. So they said, yet they still have used it, accordingly it is halal. Many of the current fiqh committees said the rini which is used from animals, which is slaughtered by non-Muslims, as long as the animal itself was halal to consume for us as Muslims, is lawful and it's permissible. Recently, as I was discussing a few years back with the scientists and people are in charge for nutrition and so on, they said nowadays they don't use it from the animal sources. Rather, the enzymes are being created and manufactured chemically at the lab. So you don't have to worry about that.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Okay, the next we have Brother Muhammad from Jordan. Brother, you're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Actually, I'm working for a big company. I am been authorized by the management to sign the checks.
Yeah.
I signed the check, but in the bank it's like interest and all involved. But I just signed the check, but I don't get any money, or I just get my salary every month. So, but they have authorized me to sign the checks. So with another authorized person. So I just want to ask about whether it's anything which I'm doing it wrong or it's right or.
The checks are paid to whom?
Suppliers, different suppliers.
Who are the suppliers? What do they do? What do they supply?
They supply different things to our company.
Okay.
Like buttons and fabrics and then all kind of like stationeries. They supply to our company.
Lawful things.
The finance, the accountant writes the check.
Okay.
I sign the check.
Okay.
This is another question I have.
Carry on.
Can we eat with the in a non-Muslims with the same plates? Like when we eat in the lunch or something, somebody comes and they share things like in a plate where we are eating. And the last question is, my son wants to know: can we have a parrot in the house, like the bird?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Jazakallah khair.
The rest of your questions, inshallah, will be answered in the order it was received. But there is one question, because of its importance, I would like to handle it right now. Eating with non-Muslims. There is no problem with that. If they invite you or you invite them, as long as the food itself is lawful, even if you happen to eat from the same dish or the same plate. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to invite non-Muslims even to the masjid, and he was invited by the Jews, and he accepted and he ate from their food. And you know the story of Shat Khaybar, which was poison, and the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam took a bite out of it, and he had a gathering of the companions. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Allah does not forbid you from dealing kindly and gently with those who do not oppose you on account of your religion, nor do they kick you out of your homes on account of your religions. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes and loves those who are equitable. So in this case, because of the importance of this question, some people think that if I shake hands with a non-Muslim, then I have to make wudu. No, this is not the case. Their impurity, it's not physical. So if you eat with them, even if somebody drinks, a non-Muslim drinks from a glass, and you drink after him, there is no problem with that whatsoever with regards to lawful and unlawful.
Jazakallah Shaykh for that very important clarification. Amara's got her last question. It's regarding vanilla extract. She says in the process of making vanilla extract, you have to use alcohol, and I did some reading up about this. Yes, the alcohol is used. She wants to know, are we allowed to then consume vanilla?
I assume you're talking about the liquid vanilla, not the powder one. Because in the case of the liquid, alcohol is definitely used. So if there is a great deal of alcohol and it is intoxicant, then it becomes totally prohibited. But if it is in the form or the format of powder, even if there was alcohol and it has been transformed into any other material through the heating process to the point that we cannot recognize any alcohol, and it's not intoxicant anymore, then it is permissible. The issue of al-istihala is a subject which is a very important issue. I hope that we have a whole lecture or a whole episode to explain it. Because there will be questions concerning, we had the reni as an enzyme, we had the gelatin, we had the glycerin, and right now is the alcohol. If any substance, if anything that is prohibited in Islam to consume, and it has been transformed completely, chemically, the chemical structure of this substance has become totally different to the point that it cannot be recognized into another material, then it becomes lawful.
Jazakallah khair. We have Brother Shakil now from the United Arab Emirates. Brother, you're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I have two questions.
Okay.
Is supplication in Jamaat by raising hands right after a first prayer allowed?
Okay.
And number two, many people pray in a sitting position and say that it is allowed, but you get only half the reward than if you were to pray while standing. Is this from the Sunnah?
Okay.
Jazakallah khair.
Barakallah fiqh, brother. Brother Shakil there from the United Arab Emirates. Next we have Sister Sumaya from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Sister, welcome to Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you? Sheikh Muhammad Salah and Jamil Rashid.
I'm fine, Jazakallah. Thank you very much.
I have one question that some people say that there is no rahmah on your house and such, you are out of mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is the solution of this? I don't think so that there is no rahmah of Allah. There is, I feel. But some people say that. So
why this has been said, sister?
For increasing Allah's mercy in our home and in our hearts and in other people. What we can do in this matter.
Why this has been said?
Who?
Why this has been said?
Why do they say this, the people?
I don't know. I don't know why this is said. Because of some destruction, but I don't know.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. Sister Sumaya there from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Sister, you still there? Got another question?
Yeah, I have another question as well.
Okay, carry on.
In somebody's mind, like if the clock is not working or if the washing machine is out, so they say there is a destruction in your home and Allah's mercy is you are the lack of Allah's mercy. So this is just how I want to rectify this conception in the people's mind.
Okay.
And what is the basic, or what you can say that break of sahar? Somebody can say that you have sahar and stuff like that. So what's supposed to do in our daily routine or after a scar and all the stuff?
Okay.
Just let me know that.
Okay. We'll try our best, Sister Sumaya. Jazakallah khair. Again, that's Sister Sumaya from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Okay, now we have Brother Manawar. You know what here, brother? You're from Kuwait. You're on Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Yes. Alhamdulillah, Sheikh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My name is Munawar Ahmad. I'm from Kuwait, and this is the first time that I'm asking any question. My question is about the last ayahs of Al-Furqan. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Ibadur Rahman for a particular people, a particular attribute. Why not Ibadullah or some other ism of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, barakallah fiqh. Brother Manawar, they're from Kuwait. Jazakallah, brother. And welcome to all our new brothers and sisters. First time you called in, we really do appreciate your call. Okay, Sister Sabashik from Canada asked a question about a certain book. She says it's called Islami Wazaif. I think it's Wada'if, those books that we've spoke about before. She wants to know, these kind of books refer to certain salah. There's one called Salat al-Tasbih. We did speak about it before, Tasbih. She wants to know, is this kind of salah from the Sunnah, Sheikh?
Obviously, Islamic wazaif is an Urdu term which means Islamic duties to be practiced on a regular basis. Last time we had a question concerning certain practices where people rely totally on certain books such as Fada'il or Fada'il A'mal, etc., which are the virtuous acts. We said, why do we rely on references which compose or consist of weak and fabricated ahadith? Why do we have the most sound narrations after the Quran? Al-Bukhari, Sahih Imam Muslim, and others. It's very easy nowadays to verify the authenticity of any hadith. You stated several things. None of the things which you stated that you read in the book is sound or authentic. As a matter of fact, the hadith of Salatul Tasabih, the scholars differ with regards to its prescription. Based on the hadith, they agreed it's not a sound hadith. The difference now is a result of, since it's not a sound hadith, it's a weak hadith. Some said it's even fabricated hadith. They said, well, some consider al-hadith al-da'if is a reference with regards to doing virtuous acts, not fara'id, not mandatory things. They say, it's something good to do it. Well, it is possible in case that we don't have things to do, which are stated in sound and authentic references. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, whoever prays 12 rak'ahs on a regular basis, Allah will build a house for him in paradise. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, advise us to pray witr before we sleep, and he advised us to pray duha, many rak'ahs. So there are some references to do virtuous ibadat and voluntary nawafil. And that's why we say, according to the opinion of Al-Jumhur, that we only should rely on some references, especially when it comes to ibadat, acts of worship. The hadith of Salatul Tasabih, which is narrated by Tirmidhi, and is judged by all the narrators that the hadith is weak. Okay? It stated that the Prophet ﷺ said to Al-Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, that it is good and recommend to pray this prayer once a day. If you can, then once a week. Then if you can, once a month. That means it's such a great thing to do. But how come that none of the companions was aware of it? Or at-tabi'een? Especially, it has a very specific description. It says that after you recite the Fatiha and the Surah, you say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allah Akbar, Allah 15 times. Then you say it in ruku' 10 times. Then you say it in sujood after you rise up from ruku'. So there is a specific technique and prescription of how to pray this prayer. Well, it was not known to all of these companions, and accordingly, I would rather do what's really stated as a sound hadith, and it's backed up with an authentic proof. So, if you happen to open the book of Sahih Imam Bukhari or Riyadh al-Salihin, you will find many references to virtuous acts as far as nawafil. Stick to that. And when you get to finish all of them, we will start talking about the weak ahadith.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, next we have Brother Alamgir from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Brother, you're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I have got one request and one question.
Okay.
One request is, I am from India, now in KSA. In India, we are not getting Huda. Can you make arrangement for telecasting in India?
Okay, Jazakallah khair, brother.
And the question is, we are having Hanafi, Shafi, Maliki, Hanbali, 4 Imams and the 4 methods of prayer. Should we continue like that? Why not we unify everything and make Islam as a one and a consolidated with the same and uniform prayer procedure?
Okay.
Inshallah, we'll answer this very important question. But before we go to the answer, I would like to correct one thing. That inshallah, you're getting Huda in India. You mean you're not getting Huda TV? Because Huda means guidance. So of course, all Muslims are getting Huda everywhere. But as far as Huda TV, inshallah, hopefully, and very soon, with your dua and supplication, inshallah, will cover the entire globe.
Inshallah. And just another point to that, like I always point out, that you can always get Huda free of charge on the web by going to www.huda.tv. It's live there, 24 hours a day. It's free streaming. So if you've got an internet connection, then you've also got Huda TV. Jazakallah khair. Okay, let's see if we can get to one more question, Sheikh. The sister asks, this is Sister Saba, about many mosques in North America, and as you've got a lot of experience there. She said they follow Saudi Arabia in certain acts, like, for example, pronouncing the beginning of certain months and the ending of certain lunar months. She said, do we have to follow Saudi Arabia? Because there's a conflict. Some mosques follow organizations in North America, some follow Saudi. What do we do?
I really hope that we have enough time to elaborate in details on this very important issue in order to make it very clear to the common folks to understand the concept of the beginning of fasting and the ending of fasting, especially in the month of Ramadan, and determining both Eids. But let me also fix one thing, that they do not necessarily follow Saudi Arabia. Basically, they follow any Muslim country which announces its fasting first. Because this opinion is the opinion of the unity of the rising of the moon, or the appearance of the moon. Meaning, this is a concept that the fuqaha said, once the moon has been sighted anywhere in the world, then Muslims should follow it. Because we all understand that there is only one moon. So if the crescent has been sighted anywhere, that means it's already born. Then we should comply with that and we should start fasting. Yet there is another opinion, which is a very valid opinion as well, which they rely on ikhtilaful matala'. That they say every country, every locality, especially those who are geographically far away from each other and are not on the same line of time-wise, that they have the right to depend on their own moon sighting. So they say, for instance, if you are in the Middle East and you've sighted the moon, you follow it. But I don't have to abide by that if I'm living in North America. I agree with that. That's perfectly fine if you adopt this view. But guess what? You need to consider this opinion constantly. Not take it sometimes and abandon it some other times. By the meaning, those who insist on taking the view or the opinion of the differences of the moon citation, that if the moon has been sighted here, that's up to you, you guys follow it, but we're far away from you, we're thousands of miles far away from you. Okay, well, guess what? The North America is not just a simple country, it's a whole continent. So there is sometimes 3 hours time difference between some states and New York or Washington or California. That means that there are thousands of miles, much greater and vast distance than between Saudi Arabia and Egypt and Jordan and Qatar and the entire Middle East. That you travel days between the states. So if you choose the opinion of ikhtilaful matala', then you have to choose it and adopt it all the way. That, okay, every state will be independent on sighting their moon. But to try to impose on others, say, well, we're taking the opinion of ikhtilaful matala' and we have not sighted the moon in North America. So I don't care about what people have said in the Middle East or in Pakistan or in Asia. Fine. But that should be generalized in every case and every condition. This is one thing. Second thing, our reference, our solid reference with regards to beginning of fasting and celebrating Eid by the end of the month is what the Prophet ﷺ said in the Sahih Hadith, صُومُوا لِرُؤْيَتِهِ وَأَفْطِرُوا لِرُؤْيَتِهِ. That's our reference. He said, you should begin fasting upon sighting the moon. And you should break your fast and start celebrating Eid upon sighting the moon of the month of Shawwal. Not based on calculation. Do we condemn calculation and we do not use it? No, Islam is a religion of science, is a religion of knowledge, a religion of knowledge. Yet, I can use this as a reference to give me an approximate time and date. But by the end of the day, sighting the moon is an act of worship. And there is even a supplication to be recited upon sighting the moon. That the Prophet ﷺ used to say, oh Allah, make it a blessed crescent, a blessed hilal, and bring goodness along with it, and so forth. So we should go out, try to sight the moon. We're not able to sight it, then we'll complete the month of Sha'ban, 30 days. Then we'll start fasting afterward. And if we're not able to sight the moon anywhere in the world, we'll follow that technique as well. But to say from the beginning, it is impossible to sight the moon, and according to the calculation, I was told that last time I was I began fasting with the Middle East, and when I traveled to the States, People were divided in the same community, in the same house. Some people were fasting and some people were celebrating Eid. I understand and I admit that it is very difficult to unify the Ummah, especially with this regard. But we have to have true leaders who base their opinion on the fiqh, on the proper understanding of the deen, not on desires, not on politics, not on cultural practices. So I said, if you're following this, I'm following this with you. I'm considering the opinion of ikhtilaf al-matali'. But guess what? We've got a phone call that an imam and another person in Pennsylvania were able to see the moon. Then, according to this, and we have two just men, one of whom is imam, then I cannot fast tomorrow, because fasting will be haram. The Prophet ﷺ prohibited us from fasting on the Eid day. Since I learned that there are two just Muslims were able to see the hilal of Shawwal, the next morning is the Eid. So you said it's impossible. Once it took place, and I was there, that they announced that a year in advance, the beginning of Ramadan is on that day. We said fine. And the new Muslims and the converts in the prison, they get the date, and accordingly the officials would inform them what to do, and they would have a special schedule for them. But guess what? The moon was sighted a day before that fixed date. So all Muslims in North America started fasting on that day, except the Muslims in the prison. Because according to the system, you informed us with this date. Why? Because we told them in advance it's impossible to sight the moon on that date. I wish we can combine between the fiqh, the deen, the solid references and the authentic proofs, and the science and knowledge. We utilize both of them. We have Muslim scholars in NASA. We have Muslim astronomers. They can tell us approximately whether it's possible to see it or not. But by the end of the day, what would really determine is sighting the moon, sighting the moon or not.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Okay, with that, we're going to take a short break and inshallah return in a couple of minutes. Please do stay with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The religion of Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world, and the majority of that growth is taking place right here in the United States of America. According to most reliable estimates, there are more than 7 million Muslims living in the United States of America. Muslims have become valuable and vital assets to the American society. So please join me as I travel around America and introduce you to a few of the many Muslims in America. Rasul of Allah, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah, Muhammad is His messenger. La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah, Muhammad is His messenger.
When you are weak and the road seems long, remember, just remember,
we're looking at the names of Allah from the perspective of not only their understanding, knowing what they are, knowing what they mean, but also looking at how they should impact on our lives. We should gain from it a sense of Allah, the vastness of Allah's mercy, how it encompasses every aspect of His creation. Al-Malik, Al-Malik, and Al-Malik. Al-Malik translated as the sovereign Lord, Al-Malik, the owner, and Al-Malik, the king. In the names of Allah.
Allah is the only guide. When your heart is breaking and your pain makes you fall, remember, just remember, Allah sees it all.
My name is Sharif Touni, and this is brought to you from Huda TV. In today's edition, we'll be discussing about the day and night.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala equated the samawat with darkness, the firmament with darkness, and equated the earth with light. Why? Are there really pillars that cannot be seen?
Or is it an unseen pillar?
Everything is running, but the relationships are fixed. Yes. So that it would appear to people as if nothing is running, you see. We are destroying our environment with our own hands. And that's why the Quran says, ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس ليذيقهم بعض الذي عملوا لعلهم يرجعون.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Ask Huda. Let me quickly remind you of our telephone numbers. Country code is 202, then it's 38555 248 or 249. Sister Alia from Egypt had several questions for the Sheikh. And the first one, she says, my parents have passed away. And in order for them to attain some blessings, we sacrifice on the same day every year that they passed away, the same month, we do a sacrifice, Sheikh. And you did ask her some questions regarding this. Is this allowed, Sheikh, she's asking?
I asked whether they do that as a mean of commemorating their anniversary, and she said yes. This is a cultural practice, and it is totally prohibited in our religion. We should not celebrate the anniversary of the birth or the death of anyone, or otherwise the most worthy one to be celebrated his anniversary was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he never prescribed that, nor did he do it to anyone who died during his life, and many of his beloved ones died in his life, his son Ibrahim, his daughters, but he didn't do any of that. These are mere cultural false practices, and unfortunately many of those who have memorized some parts of the Quran, they make a profit out of that. This is totally haram when they sit and they do khatma or they recite some parts of the Quran. But guess what? You can do something similar to that, which will be permissible, recommended, and you receive a reward, and the deceased will be rewarded as well. If you give it charity, you give it a charity on their behalf. If you purchase a water fountain and you put it somewhere in the path of people, this is the best mean of giving a charity with the intention of, oh Allah, give the reward of this to my father or to my mother who passed away, or any person. That is permissible. You save this money and you perform Umrah or Hajj on their behalf. That is permissible. You distribute money on the poor or buy food and give it to them. That's permissible. But on this occasion, it becomes prohibited.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh, for that clarification. The second question for Sister Alia. She said, are women allowed to talk to men over the internet? She said especially in order to get married. She wants to get married to a certain person. This type of talking, Sheikh, is in chat rooms, internet chat rooms, where they have headphones and so forth, and they're chatting. There's quite a lot of this going on. I mean, it's something which is a phenomenon nowadays.
The common words which are coming out of my mouth are very sincere, insha'Allah Azza Jal, and just because I love you for the sake of Allah. Don't you ever do that. This is a satanic trap. Don't tell me that we do not speak about anything that's offensive or emotional or grab us. No. One time you're going into this pit. This is a trap that's set to you by Satan, even if you guys are getting married. The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam explained to us, if you want to get married, what do you do? Number one, انظر إليها فإنه أحرى أن يؤدم بينكما. He should see you and you should see him. That's permissible. In the presence of your male mahram. You should come to your house. You should visit your parents. You should visit your guardian if you have any guardian. And this process has to be done in the light. Not behind the scene. Not behind closed doors. I definitely consider chatting on the net between a male and a female who are not mahram to each other is a khalwa, privacy. Where if this time went through without talking about anything, next time you will be emotional, and next time you will be even involved in sexual conversation. Whether you think that will happen or not, that will definitely happen. And we have several miserable stories that people ended up disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and committing severe sins because of chatting online. Do not do that. If he is interested in getting to know you, there is a resume. Tell him whom you are in writing, or the person who proposed you to him or proposed them to you, then he should come over to meet your family or you meet him. It's allowed to meet several times until you find out about each other and you make your final decision in the presence of your male mahram. So if you don't have a male mahram or a guardian around you, do not do that.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Okay, next we have Brother Faisal from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Brother, you're live and ask your question, please.
Hello?
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Faisal.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Is it compulsory to perform Hajj if we make Umrah during the month of Shawwal or Dhul Qa'dah?
Okay.
No, Faisal, it is not compulsory, Faisal. Even if you go during the Hajj season and you just do Umrah and you're not planning to do Hajj, that is fine.
Jazakallah khair.
Barakallahu feek. Another one of our young viewers there, Brother Faisal from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Jazakallah khair, brother, for your question. And mashallah, you got answers straight away. Look at that, mashallah. Okay, Sheikh, let's go to some more of these questions. Sister Raleigh from Egypt had a last question. She said she's been told by somebody that there are 2 prophets who are alive in the heavens and 2 prophets who are alive on the earth. Is this true, Sheikh?
This is not true, of course. We understand that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam during the journey of Al-Mi'raj ascended to the 7th heaven and all the way to Sidratil Muntaha, and he met in each heaven some prophets. He met in the first heaven Adam alayhi salam, and in the second prophet Yahya wa Isa, John and Jesus. And in the third he met Prophet Joseph, Sayyiduna Yusuf alayhi salam, and in the fourth he met with Prophet Idris. Then in the fifth he met with Prophet Harun, Musa's brother. Then in the 6th he met with Sayyiduna Musa, Prophet Moses, peace be upon him. And in the 7th he met with Prophet Ibrahim. But these prophets also prayed behind him in the journey of Al-Isra, where? In Jerusalem, in the farthest mosque. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala liberate the entire area and bring it back to the pen of Islam and Muslims. Ameen. In our life. Allah make it come true. So all the prophets, besides Isa alayhi salam, are being buried on earth. Some of them, their graves are known, but they're all dead, including Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّكَ مَيِّتٌ وَإِنَّهُمْ مَيِّتُونَ. And there is a hadith in which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, 100 years from now, no one of those who are alive will be alive afterward. Meaning, after this 100 years, there will not be a single person who's been alive there will live afterward, including the prophets.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. And she mentioned here Prophet Isa as well, especially. Is there something poignant there, Sheikh?
Prophet Isa alayhi salam was elevated to heaven. That's different. But she mentioned that there are a couple of prophets here and a couple of prophets who are alive there. No one is alive, including Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. And coming from this, we're speaking about Isra al-Miraj, the night journey. Fatima, another one of our young viewers, asked the question, who was it, which prophet was it, which spoke to Prophet
whom?
She asked, which prophet gave the advice to the Prophet ﷺ about asking Allah to reduce the salats?
That was Prophet Musa alayhi salam, and as I just mentioned, he was in the 6th heaven during the journey of Al-Mi'raj, or the Great Ascent. And when the Nabi ﷺ was informed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the mandate of 50 prayers a day, he had a conversation with the Prophet Moses. He said, what did Allah give you? He said, He gave me 50 prayers a day. He said, I was a prophet before you. I don't think your people can afford it. Some people, when they read it, they say, what? That could not be a divine thing. That how come Allah would give him something, then he would go to Musa to advise him, and he will ascend back to Allah. That was all pre-planned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to tell us that Allah is the most merciful. The conclusion of this story that Allah said, "O Muhammad, I reduced them from 50 to just 5. But guess what? Those who would offer the 5 on regular basis will get the reward of offering 50. To inform us that Allah is the most merciful. Allah is the most generous. He is Al-Rahim, He is Al-Kareem. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also said, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. So this whole thing and this dialogue was pre-planned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing takes place in this universe but according to His will.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Okay, we had Sister Isya from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia call. and she asked about making dua. She says that sometimes we ask our friends, please make dua for us. She says, what's the difference between this and asking somebody who's a friend of Allah, wali Allah, whether alive or dead, because we can discuss this here, to make dua for us? What's the difference here?
There is all the difference in the world, especially when it comes to life or dead. Because we were not supposed to ask from the dead. The dead are more in need for us than anybody else, are in need for our prayers. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam once knew that Umar ibn al-Khattab was going to perform Umrah, so he asked him to pray for him. Umar, pray for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It is permissible to ask righteous people, or even ordinary people, and especially your parents and youngers, to pray for you. That is permissible, and it is recommended. And it is recommended to ask for more righteous people. Pray for me. Their dua is most likely to be answered. And not only that, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam advised us to pray for one another in the unseen. And he said the dua which is most likely to be accepted is a dua bi-dhahr al-ghayb, which means that when you pray for somebody who's not present. So, I was performing Umrah for innocence and I say, oh Allah bless Jameel, oh Allah bless everybody in Huda TV, oh Allah bless the Ummah, oh Allah liberate Jerusalem, oh Allah give victory to the Muslim Ummah. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that when somebody prays for somebody else in his absence, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appoints an angel, who's standing next to you to say, oh Allah respond, Ameen, Ameen. That's it? No. And give him similar to what he asked for that person. So when you say, oh Allah, make somebody rich, or give him shifa or cure, or let this girl get married, or have children, the angel says, oh Allah, respond and give him, which is you, the supplicant, similar to what you have asked for your brothers or for your sisters. But asking from the dead is an act of shirk, is an act of associating others with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They cannot avail you on art. They do not own anything for themselves, let alone others. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the greatest human being ever, life or dead, and we don't ask from him. Because he himself said to his nephew, Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, Ya ghulam, if you ever ask, then you should only ask from Allah. If you ever seek help, you should only seek the help of Allah. إِذَا سَأَلْتَ فَاسْأَلِ اللَّهِ وَإِذَا اسْتَعَنْتَ فَاسْتَعِنْ بِاللَّهِ. It does not make any sense when somebody says, oh mullah so-and-so, help me, or peer so-and-so, or even prophet. Because by that you're setting partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for your informations, the Quran spoke about this kind of associating others with Allah in details. He said that the Meccan pagans argued with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when they said, we worship one God. He said, what about these idols? They argued saying, مَا نَعْبُدُهُمْ إِلَّا لِيُقَرِّبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ زُلْفَى. We're only taking them as means of approach to take us directly to Allah, because we're not pure enough. They were righteous. And this is how Satan deceived humanity and mankind. When first righteous people died, so he said, you're not going to commemorate the remembrance? Why don't you draw pictures and make statues of them? So they did. Then after the flood of Noah, he inspired somebody to dig them out. Amr ibn Luhay. And he brought them from Jeddah to Mecca. And he set them around the Kaaba and said, these were righteous people in the beginning. Then guess what? After a while they said, oh, these are lords. Same thing with the ancient Egyptians. They have a lord for rain, and a lord for love, and a lord for death, and a lord for that. Initially they thought they were righteous people. We just invoked them to take them as a means of approach to Allah. This is the first step to slip down in the pen or the pit of shirk, that you should only ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask none but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, الدعاء هو العبادة. الدعاء هو العبادة. Making dua is the essence of worship. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the course of talking about Ramadan and its virtues that وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. I just don't understand that if you go to any physician and he prescribes any medication for you, say, this is the best because you trust the physician. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you want to know about me? I'm very near to you. If you need anything, don't ask no one. Don't ask no one, just ask me directly. You don't have to find any person as an intermediary between me and you. I am closer to you than your own jugular vein. So ask of me, فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي, in order to be rightly guided.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Okay, we've come to the last question of the day. Sister Ishia, also from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. She wants to know regarding covering the feet when making salah. She says, even in the house, does a woman have to cover her feet while she's making salah?
I am of the opinion of covering the feet for women during the salah, because the more right opinion is based on a hadith narrated by Salama, may Allah be pleased with her, and it is collected by Abu Dawood in his Sunan, that she asked the Prophet ﷺ once, is it permissible for a woman to pray just in a dir' wa khimar without izar? So what is dir' and what is khimar and what is izar? Al-khimar is what covers the head. Al-izar is what covers the waist and down. And ad-dir' is the outer garment which covers the upper part of the body. And it goes all the way down. So she said, can she just pray in the khimar and the dir', the outer garment, without wearing the izar? He said if it was long enough, the dir', if it was long enough to cover the feet. Accordingly, the feet, the top and the sole or the bottom are both awrah for women. You will find Imam Abu Hanifa says the top is not awrah and the bottom is awrah. But how would you cover the bottom and not cover the top? So basically, Imam Shafi'i, Ahmad ibn Hanbal and others said that for a woman must cover her feet in the salah. Only the hands and the face are allowed to show them in the salah. And Allah knows best. And by the way, if you cover the feet accordingly, you're supposed to cover them with thick socks or longer garment, so that it will not be see-through. Because if the skin is being seen from beneath the see-through socks, this is not covering, and it's still showing.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh, for all your answers today and your advice. Barakallahu feekum. Okay, that's the end of this episode of Ask Huda. If you want to send us an email, please do at our email address, ask@huda.tv. Well, until next time, we both leave you with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair.
If my love is attached to thee, then from sins I will be free. Each time my heart will beat, your name will resound with heat. Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass